Director Wray, according to reporting, 8 people in Allen, Texas this past weekend who were murdered by a man who allegedly held white supremacist views. You and I have discussed the fact that white supremacists and anti-government extremists really pose the greatest terrorist threat in the country, domestic terrorism threat here in the homeland for many years. And as you know, and we've talked about this, I'm still waiting for a complete accounting from the FBI and the DHS, which was mandated by a law that I wrote along with Senator Johnson in the 2019 NDAA. And certainly that information is important because if you don't really have a full measure of what you're dealing with, it's difficult to know how to properly resource it. So my question for you, Director Wray, is can you please tell me specifically what in the fiscal year 24 budget request demonstrates that the FBI is prioritizing the investigation and the response to this significant domestic terrorism threat?
So I appreciate the question, and I have found our conversations on this topic to be very productive and helpful, and I know how important this is to you. In the fiscal 24 budget, we have requested an enhancement. So again, that's on top of the base funding, which is quite significant, devoted to this issue. That's a $13 million counterterrorism enhancement that would augment our ability to address investigative requirements, provide sophisticated tools necessary to proactively counter the threat. So it would do everything from increasing our investigative capacity, facilitating information sharing, identifying emerging trends to try to get better ahead of the threat, and to enhance our liaison relationships with law enforcement and the private sector. As you may recall, back in 2019, in the summer of 2019, I elevated racially motivated violent extremism to a national threat priority, which is the level of our highest priority threats. And we saw a significant growth in the number of investigations that we were conducting throughout 2020, and then, of course, certainly since then. And so we would look for the enhancement that I've just described to build on top of the base that we already have, because we can't really rob Peter to pay Paul. All these other threats we've been talking about are not subsiding at the same time that we're having to focus on terrorism.
So I just want to be clear, Director Wray, that the increase you're talking about is directly related to your efforts against domestic terrorism? Is that 100% allocated?
Yeah, the $13 million is specifically focused on domestic terrorism.
Okay, just want to be clear. Thank you.